Henderson County Commission Budget Committee, Thursday, October 10, 2023, 4 o'clock p.m. Robbie, if you would, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bochamp?
Here.
Commissioner Foster? Here. Commissioner Jameson? Sorry. Wrong. Commissioner Smallridge? Here. Commissioner Vandegrift?
Here.
Commissioner Wandale? Here. Commissioner Wells? Here. Commissioner White? Absent. And Chairman Bell.
Here.
Why do we got him?
Let the record reflect we do have a quorum.
This
You
one should
would.
come off.
Folks, join me in prayer, and then we'll ask Commissioner Adele if he would lead us in the pledge. Heavenly Father, we once again come to you giving you honor and thanks for everything you do for us each and every day, for our salvation, for everything you add to us after that. Please forgive us when we sin. Cleanse us today, make us worthy. Father, not only to call on you, Lord, but make us worthy to represent our people. Give us your wisdom, your discernment, Father, to do what's right. All this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioners. We will now have our cash and fund balance report by Director Holbrook.
Okay, just a couple of first of all, these numbers are unaudited. We haven't closed June of 23 yet, the fiscal year last year, until next week, and then we'll start audit. But right now, these numbers are unaudited. But for the general fund, unassigned fund balance, $11,637,912. Total fund balance, $18,437,372, and cash, $17,794,773. I will roll a couple more times though, and this will all change. So, really, the cash and fund balance report. The cash is correct. It's cash with what we have in the bank in each of these funds, which that cash is up $2.4 million from last year in July. So, that's a good trend. Any questions about the cash and fund balance report?
Any questions? Hearing none, moving on.
Okay, sales tax. Sales tax is up 5% and the county as a whole from last year, from last month, June. $4,224,544.99. And actually, in calendar year 23, since January, it's been up, has been increasing every month. So we're trending a little upwards in sales tax. Not a whole lot, but 5 to 6% each month. So it's a sales tax report.
Any questions on the sales tax report? Hearing none, moving on.
Okay, the ARP projects, the list here. We changed a couple of things about this list. If you look, we included all the completed projects at the top. Starting with number 3 is where it gets into the projects that that remain, that haven't been completed, or we still haven't paid anything on. We took out the Highland, and that's completed now. We moved the money back into revenue loss, and we also took, there was a small one that had $5 and something left. We took it off the list with the money because it's completed. Revenue loss, there's $2,383,098.99 still available, and other eligibilities we have $1,767,769.53 for a total of $4,150,868.52 in the still available in the ARP money.
Any questions about the current ARP projects? Commissioner Bochamp.
What's the status on the senior center renovations? Have we started those yet, or where are we at along the process?
Mayor was talking about that. This
Construction was set to begin on August the 14th, but it's going to probably be delayed about a week because the state fire marshal has some follow-up questions on the permit.
Commissioner Foster.
Will the kitchen be the first thing that's completed? I know we added other projects, but I know we've been waiting on the kitchen for a while. I didn't know if
are they just gonna do all at the same time? or-
Yes,
So
yes.
there's not, we're gonna do one project, go to the next
Well, I think
one?
they're gonna start with demolition, and then they'll have frame in, and then, I know the kitchen is already framed in, so I don't know, I can ask that question.
I get asked that, so that's all.
Sure.
Thanks.
I do know that they're going to, so we met on site this morning, and the demolition part can be dusty, messy, and also just looking out for safety of the seniors and those, so that we can continue the continuity of operations. They are going to, put plastic and put barriers so that there's not any accidental seniors walking into the construction site. So we will have that, and they'll have kind of the right side of the center left.
Commissioner Smallridge.
Yeah. The column, other eligibilities, are those funds that had to be designated for certain projects or certain areas?
Those are the ones that were more restricted than the revenue loss, so you have to be very specific in the requirements are very specific.
Commissioner Vandegrift.
I did have a question about the broadband. Do we have an update on maybe where we're at in the county as far as broadband? I get a lot of questions about that.
I have asked Comcast several times. In fact, I had a meeting with them. They are still waiting on the contract. I guess they have started on their end, and they're doing a press release, but I still don't have the physical contract to see the actual breakdown of all the addresses.
Going along with that, Mayor, I was asked also this weekend about that, up on Braden's Flats, some constituents up there. Was that the Comcast side of the project, or was that the Highland part of the?
That was the Highland
That's what I
Highland
thought.
part.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Any further
And I
questions?
do know Comcast is looking at doing some more, so other dollars are coming available. And they did indicate if you have addresses, you have people to send that information on. So I would start doing another collection process because they want to do more.
Commissioner Wandell?
You on, are you on cable still?
No,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor and Robbie, the funds available in ARP, is it the $1,767,769.53? Is that kind of what's available?
That's just for other eligibilities. The other totals on the left, to the left of that, the 2,383,098 is revenue loss, so that basically can be spent. It's not as restricted. We can spend that on a lot of more things.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the $10 million was pretty much kind of an open-ended, anything we wanted to do.
Okay.
And then that was at the beginning, if you'll recall, when they first gave us, or when they were first talking about releasing funds all across the nation, it was really going to be limited to things like water and sewer and specific things to address COVID, and they loosened that up. So, yeah.
Is that 5 million still coming in on the 4 or 5 million extra?
Yes, yes. So Randy actually has worked with Mr. Prince on an MOU with ACWA, the Water Authority, for those portion of the funds. If you'll recall, we did allocate some of those to each of the cities, and then the big block to the county portion. And that MOU will govern how the grant dollars flow, because we finally have that contract in place now. And Jay just reviewed that for Randy and John, and I think we're waiting for comment back from ACWA, and we're ready to get started on that.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions? Commissioner Foster?
yeah, sorry. I was gonna ask a little bit of follow-up on the countywide assessment of the water and sewer. I know we were close to being completed. I see where it's still about halfway. We've been billed for.
Yes, so right now, so some of the information that you can see on that is proprietary for the utility only. So right now, it's in the hands of those utilities for comment, and then addressing any issues, and then that will be final.
Any further questions on the ARP projects? none, we'll move on. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Transfers, there's only 3 this month, 1 through 3, seeking approval as a group.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Foster to approve items 1 through 3, seconded by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay. Items 4 through 6 are from the school department. They're appropriations, seeking approval as a group,
Motion to approve.
and I can
Second.
answer any questions.
Motion made by Commissioner Bochamp to approve items 4 through 6, seconded by Dr. Smallridge. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 7 is an appropriation from the drug court. It is funding for a 1-year contract for a part-time counselor in the recovery court program. If you recall, we lost this position 2 years ago, so we now do a contracted service out of the restricted funds.
Commissioner Bochamp moves to approve item number 7, seconded by Commissioner Foster. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 8 is an appropriation from the county clerk for $10,000 out of their additional title fees revenue for furniture, data processing equipment, maintenance and repair due to relocation.
Motion made by Commissioner Foster to approve item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 9 is an appropriation from our highway department, Gary Long, for asphalt, $300,000 from restricted for highway.
Motion made by Commissioner Vandergrift to approve item number 9, seconded by Commissioner Foster. Any discussion?
I do have a question.
Commissioner Foster.
Gary, he was, okay. I just didn't know if he can step back in here, or did he already leave? Is he out there in the hall? He was just sitting there when I went to. Okay. I just didn't know if it was for patching or if it was like a paving project, and I was gonna ask something else, but I'll ask a commission.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 10 is from the tourism department, Stephanie Wells, $10,000 from fund balance for other supplies and materials, and $3,000 for furniture.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Foster to approve item number 10, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Commissioner Smallridge.
I don't know if Stephanie's, I just wondered how the new location is working out so far.
It's great. Great landlord, great location, working out great.
The
Thank
sign
you.
looks really good when you drive
Yeah.
down the highway.
And that's what some of these funds are going to be spent on, is to put a placard on the top that says Anderson County Tourism and our website, so people will know who it is. So if they want something on the sign, they know who to contact. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 11 is from EMA, Bryce Kidwell, Director, $37,080.04 for an EMPG grant.
Motion approved.
Motion made by Commissioner Wendell to approve item number 11, seconded by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 12 is from Circuit Court Clerk Rex Lynch, $20,000 from his data processing reserve for new data processing equipment, computers, monitors, and scanning equipment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Bochamp to approve item number 12, seconded by Commissioner Foster. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried. Commissioner White, we're on number 13.
13 through 19 are all from the sheriff's department. I can take these individually if you'd like, or I can as a group, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. But 5 of the 6 are for grants, so.
Motion to approve as a group.
Commissioner Bochamp makes a motion to approve items number 13 through 19, seconded by Commissioner Wells. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, 20 through 23 are from the mayor's office, or different departments that the mayor's over. Take them as a group or individually if you like.
Approval as a group?
Second.
Dr. Smallridge moves to approve items number 20 through 23 as a group, seconded by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion? Commissioner Wandale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor, did those funds from ECA or wherever they were coming from, they come in for, is this the same group that those funds were gonna go to? I know that it's not on this subject here, I was just curious.
So the one $50,000
Yes.
ECA grant,
Yeah.
yes, that came in,
Okay,
yes.
thanks. And I know
Yes.
it's separate to this, but I
Yes.
appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Foster.
On the travel one, I know that we'll be reimbursed for the
Yes.
appointment. Congratulations on those 2 appointments.
Thank you.
It's good for Anderson County. Do they go back into the fund balance when we get that money back, or how do we code that?
If it's in the same fiscal year, we put it in the expenditure code if it's reimbursing for travel during the year.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, 24 through 30 are from the finance department for other departments as well. I don't mind taking these individually, or I can answer any questions that you have, and I actually think it's 24 through 28. There isn't a 30, is there? I made a mistake on that.
Motion to approve as a group.
24 through 28.
Commissioner Bochamp moves to approve items number 24 through
28.
28.
Sorry.
It's all right. Seconded by Dr. Smallridge.
Would like to take note that one of these is for the commissioners, the committed, it's the reserve for the commissioners that you had requested, Commissioner Wandell, number 26. It's the funds that's left over from
Solid
Waste Management Commission contributions that the commissioners get to spend, so that's $19,347 on 26.
So how will that work?
Well, it goes back into the code. Annette, I talked with her this week. She has she keeps a running, I guess, a spreadsheet of what commissioners have what money available from prior years. And she has all that, I don't. I just know this is the amount that I had left over from all of the previous years. So I gave her that amount and we made it work. So
are the amounts gonna change? for
that amount, it
commission-
could change. The new contract, I guess, is on purchasing this month. I don't know if they agreed to another 12,000. That's in the budget, but I don't think we should spend that until we know that we
No, I
are
get it.
getting that right. So,
But these funds were leftover funds, kind
From
of
every year.
residual funds. I'll call it.
yes. And
Yeah.
last year we spent a little more than the 12,000 budgeted, so I moved it into that code last year, and this is what it was available. I moved all the money in the reserve into the code last year.
So
This is what it's available.
will we know, I mean, I heard what you said, and that can figure it out, I
Yeah,
guess.
she has those totals.
So we'll know of this 19,000, which districts didn't
Yes.
use it, and those commissioners can use it for their district, right?
That's what I'm assuming, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, Section A is the approval of 3 different grants, and I'll just take them individually. The first one is the Tourism Enhancement Grant for $200,000. It's $100,000 from the agency, and the county matches 100, but there is options for other splits on there too as well, I noticed.
I would like to address that, to be totally transparent with you all. This is a 70-30 match. But what we would like to do, the project is to pave the parking lot there that's adjacent to the ramp at Anderson County Park. So this will enable bigger fishing tournaments, just better parking for people that are using that on day use, the park, and they're here. But they have a problem with people maybe parking too far apart, not parking in a spot because it's not marked off, just all kinds of issues with that parking lot. They also have a problem with erosion, losing a lot of gravel off that parking lot and the driveway. So this project would pave that parking lot and hopefully make some additional parking for cars, not just trucks and trailers, and then make it to where people are parking in a spot, not blocking the ramp, not just parking haphazardly everywhere. So this grant, we have done this grant before with the state. It's how we built the additional spots at the campground, and it's also how we doubled the size of the ramp. So total disclosure, it is a 70-30 match, but this is not a $130,000 project. This is a $200,000 project. I reached out to Rogers Group, who has the contract with asphalt for the county, and he's roughly quoting about $175,000. There's some other, and that's just the parking lot, that's not kind of the driveway area, so I'm requesting $200,000, $100,000, and $100,000 match. The $100,000 match will help us probably get the grant, because they like to see that, you know, we have meat in the game, but I do want to be full disclosure with you. We are only required to match 30%, but this is a $200,000 project. And so to get it done correctly, I don't want to come back to you after we get the grant and say, hey, I need another $70,000. So I just want to be upfront about all of it and let you all know that that is probably going to be a adequate cost of this project. The parking lot is already in existence, so that helps us out. But we'll have to do the binding and the asphalt and the striping and the driveway. So just full disclosure.
Motion
And
to
this is-
approve- oh,
This
sorry.
is just to apply for the grant. We haven't
Yes.
received anything
We
yet.
haven't received anything that, we just have to have the pre-authorization to apply, and then the mayor needs this body to approve it so that we can then turn around. There's documents she has to sign, and there has to be a letter from county commission that you all are approving this.
I'll second my motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Foster to approve Section A. Is that how we'll
Section
identify this
A,
one?
number one.
Number
A1.
one, Section A? Or Section A, number one? Blame my high school English teacher in here. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion?
Just a quick question.
Commissioner Wanda?
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just said yes. You had a question.
So when this gets approved for the grant, where do you suggest the funds come from to match?
There's a couple of options. Previously, it's come out of the general fund balance. I think later on, we're going to be discussing the proceeds of the sale of the building, which I don't know how that goes, but some of that could be earmarked for this project, a part of the county's portion for the project. So there's options.
So, Mr. Chairman, we don't need to put the funds to it at this point, we're just applying?
Just so I think we're on the same page, when you say it comes out of the fund balance, are you meaning the tourism's fund
Well,
balance?
even though tourism is applying for it, it is county property. So as a county project, it would come out of county funds, county
Okay, so
fund
we-
balance.
So you're asking if it come out of the
Just,
general fund balance?
Yes, and it could come out of, I know we're going to discuss the proceeds of the sale of the building. It could come from the county's portion of that sale.
it could also come out of tourism, because audit, even the last one we did, which we ended up coming back and asking the county for, I think, 250 more thousand.
And we could do, since it's county property and part of it's for residents and part of it's for tourism, we could
Yeah,
look at a
it can come out of
split.
tourism too, yeah.
So to Commissioner Wandell's point, I
There's
think
some
maybe we need to
options.
be specific on the funding source.
Okay.
Would the maker of the motion like to address that?
Not this time.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to amend the motion that the
Okay.
funds come out of the Tourism Council's fund balance.
Motion by Commissioner Wells to amend the motion that the funding come from the tourism fund balance. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, why would we
Commissioner
want
White.
to do that if it's county property and it's going to be for the county's benefit? why would we want the tourism board to pay for it?
Well,
And I guess I'm asking Mr. Wells.
Well, I guess I would say this has all just been thrown on a short notice. So my ideal thing is we table this till next month, but obviously it's time sensitive. It looks like September 1st is the deadline for this. So just getting this amended yesterday, Mr. Holbrook, that we got all this information. Again, I'm going back to what I said last month with other issues. I don't like seeing $100,000 projects thrown before a commission and us not having time to debate, to discuss, to talk to our constituents about it. So,
no, you got this on
That's-
Monday when the agenda's due out.
okay.
That's when it's supposed to come out Monday, so you had it in time. But
And we did
we don't have to
receive-
set
yeah.
a funding source today, because once it's, if we do get the grant, then it has to come back for a budget. That's when it
Yes.
can be decided where the money comes from. But
And
to
I
answer,
think-
I can answer your question, because any just like when we expanded the park, I don't know how many new spaces we got, but tourism benefits from those short-term rentals because they get hotel motel tax from it. Her first sentence when she came up here said that we have a possibility of getting more fishing tournaments, which brings in tourism, which we get, tourism gets those dollars. It benefits both sales tax, tourism, I mean, a lot of different
Well, I can
things.
see a lot of benefits
Yeah,
to it, yeah.
definitely. I'm not saying that it should all come out of tourism, I'm just saying there is benefits for the tourism fund as
I
well.
agree. Good point. Thank you.
Commissioner Smalley.
Remind me, what is the tourism fund balance?
I believe, Robbie, right now it's at 600.
511,417, that's when everything hasn't rolled yet, though, that's unaudited, that will change, so.
Thank you.
Commissioner Foster.
So that was just my reasoning for not designate where we're gonna pull the money from, since I know we haven't looked at it. I think we need to apply for the grant, because I think we can always turn it down if we don't get it. And then we know kind of prices too, because it could come in, you know, if we get the grant, prices could be higher than we think it is, so that was my reasoning for just a motion to approve the grant.
And we were just notified about this grant. We knew that it was coming, but the documents just came out, I believe, in July. So it is a quick turnaround. You know, I understand that completely, the hesitancy, but this is a project that we've had, you know, that we've discussed. I know the Conservation Board has discussed, and they met Monday and also approved this project, so.
Commissioner Wells.
Forgive me, if I'm overlooking it, forgive me. I've sat down and read through this over the last 3 nights when I've gotten home and put the kids in bed, but does it say anywhere in our agenda what this grant was for?
Yes, it's on the form. I believe, does it say on there, Robbie, that we're applying for the parking lot at Anderson County Park?
It says, tourism enhancement project C attached.
I'm looking,
So does it just list the grant paperwork?
yes.
Okay.
And so that's where I would follow up, Commissioner.
Does the form have that option, Robbie, to say describe the project?
So, Mr. Chairman, as I had the floor, that was
Oh, I'm
where
sorry.
that was where I would follow up and say, we're being thrown a potentially $250,000 project at us, and we're supposed to say, yay, let's do it the day of, and it's a quick turnaround. That's not business. That's not good business at all. I can't support that, so.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
so I think we had a motion to approve it, just to apply. Then we had an amendment to attach it to funding to the tourism.
Yes, sir.
So I didn't mean to imply that we should have funding attached. I was just asking in general, if it was approved, what funding would we use? I'm not opposed to using the tourism funding, but, so I guess you're getting ready to clear us up on.
Yes, sir. The motion on the floor right now is the amendment. Still voting on the amendment that it's actually coming from the tourism funds.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Appreciate it.
That's correct. And actually, for me voting on it, I think that helps me clarify whether or not I'm okay with even going through with the process, knowing the funding source. So
Okay.
I'm strictly okay with that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor on the amendment to attach it to bring the funding from the tourism fund balance? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Okay, by a show of hands, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion carries. So now back on the motion as amended, which is to approve the applying for the grant with the funding source of being from tourism. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no.
No.
And we'll do a hand vote. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda.
Is also another grant for tourism for $70,000. It's a 50/50 match for marketing.
And this item is something we do every year. It's already in our budget because the state comes out with this grant option every year. So it is already included in our budget. I understand that we have a new process now with applying for grants, so that's, we're going through that process. But it was approved in our budget. The funding comes from Tourism Council. We match it with our operating budget. This is part of our marketing promotion for the entire year. So,
Motion made by Commissioner Foster to approve the grant application on item A2. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Commissioner Bochamp.
Question for Robbie.
Yes.
So where it says county matching amount, I know
That's
Stephanie just said
tourism
that it's coming
fund.
out of tourism.
Yes, that always has come out of their funds,
Just
yes.
wanted to clarify.
And
Commissioner
in fact,
Smallridge.
as she said, it's already in the budget, so it was included in the budget process this year.
What, could you talk a little bit about the actual expenditure, what it will go for? I know it's
Yes.
marketing, but.
yes, we do YouTube pre-roll video advertising and social media video advertising with those funds as our main kind of digital platforms that we use. And this year I also wrote in to upgrade our website. So it's been about 4 years since our website was done, so we're going to be making some changes to our website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay. The last grant in A is number 3. It's the SRO grant for $1,275,000. I am just needing to approve. We've already received this check, so.
Motion approved.
um,
Motion made by Commissioner Wandell to approve Section A3, seconded by Commissioner Foster. Any discussion? Commissioner Smallridge.
Yeah, at some point, I'd like kind of a summary of all the grants. We had 5 grants earlier, and
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea.
I know, we're getting so many.
I mean, just a brief summary of all the grants that the sheriff's department's getting.
We have that, because we do it for audit, so we can send that to all the commissioners.
Somebody over
I can give a little
Commissioner-
background on this if you'd like, though. This allows us to hire 17 SRO officers, and it pays up to $75,000 an officer for salary, benefits, I think, uniforms, maybe cell phone. I'm not sure about that one, but, and
Lieutenant,
that would be an officer at every school.
Lieutenant Steve Owens. Go ahead, sir.
Right. Yeah, so this was a funding source that came out that basically if we applied for it, we were guaranteed the money for every school that's in Anderson County. So it maxes 75 per officer, and so what this allows us to do is we currently in our budget for salaries have always had 15 SROs, which we went up a couple of years ago to that 15 mark, but this one allows us to even add 2 more SROs to the schools that we have, 1 SRO covering 2 schools. So this would put an SRO in every school, allow us to pay their salaries, their uniforms, pay for any special training, like conferences they go to keep their certification as SROs, and equipment that is necessary for it. So
This may have been in the write-up, but how many additional SROs will this allow?
so we'll go from 15 to 17.
Okay, two additions.
Yes, sir.
So right now, we have Norwood and Norris that share one
Yeah,
officer.
so yes, we have 1 SRO that covers Norris Elementary and Middle, and 1 at Norwood. So
Commissioner Foster.
So we already have that program in, and been funding through the fund balance, or through general fund, and the school system on the partnership. Is just the county side of that, or the school system?
The school system won't, we had a 60-40 split.
Yeah.
They will not be paying, it's all general
For
fund.
this year, correct?
Yes.
And this is a one-time money?
It's-
no, it's probably they took, I don't want to speak for the schools, but some of the state school grants that were in place before went away when this came into to be. Yes, sir.
We had a $500,000 SRO grant for the last 4 years, and that's what we paid for that out there. And then we will still take over the gas and the cars, we still gotta buy those out there, so. So it went away, so all they did really and truly, they repurposed money because there was like 120 districts had that money. But
Yeah.
now they wanted it to go through Homeland Security and them, because a lot of the school systems didn't hire SROs, they hired,
SSOs.
yes.
Yeah, and this particular grant makes each entity that applies for it have to put certified officers in the school versus security officers. That's why they went this route. But now, it also, it's my understanding, it's a grant, but the way it's explained to us is that it would be recurring grant, so as long as the state funds it, it would just be guaranteed money each year as long as it's there. So,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, under section B, I also handed out some paperwork for section B earlier, but it's the election voting machine grant for $789,096. There's no match for the county. This pays completely for the voting machines. And I've also stuck a budget amendment in your new paperwork that would, there's two revenue sources, other federal through state and then other state grants. And then I put all the 789 in thousand in voting machines, capital code.
Motion approved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Wendell to approve item section B, seconded by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion?
I don't know if Mr. Stevens like to say anything, but.
No, this, like I said, this is the final step in the purchasing process. You know, we're very fortunate that the state and the federal folks, and actually local folks were able to get this. It saved us about $390,000. And so, we're fortunate that, that they were able to step in and help the counties throughout the state.
Commissioner Smallridge.
Yeah, so this is a state grant, and I mean, in terms of the company that's selected.
It's actually a hybrid grant. It was actually state and federal funds. HARP Intercivic, or excuse me, HART Intercivic is the one that actually was awarded the bid. And we will hopefully get that instituted. We will have it instituted in March of 2024.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark, if you don't care, since Mark's here, and I know you asked me a question, there are some ARP funds allocated for the election commission for digital poll books, 100,000. I've had a couple questions about what the poll books are for, and I wanted Mark to explain that since
Okay.
he's here tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I can talk about what an electronic poll pad system is. It basically replaced the paper poll book that we use on election day. So what it is, it'll look like basically like an iPad where the voter will bring their photo ID, they'll scan it, their information will come up on the screen. They will affirm that that's who they are. There'll be a barcode that'll actually be given, and they will take that then to the poll official, and they will then issue the right ballot, so there's no confusion. It's a much safer, secure, and also more accurate system. And it's definitely less time-consuming and labor-intensive.
My son has the same name that so I think that'll simplify things
I
quite a
think
bit in
it will be.
situations like that.
There are instances like that.
I'm
so
much
yes.
better looking, but his mama may disagree.
Okay. Okay.
Any further questions?
Yes, over here.
Commissioner Yeager?
Does this remove all signatures, hand signatures?
They'll have to make an affirmation on there, so they will have to do some sort of an
Sign it
initialization.
on the-
Yes, that will
okay.
not go away from that, so there
Okay.
will still have to be an approval.
Any further discussion? Any questions?
And
Thanks,
this will
sir.
only be used on election day.
Okay.
We'll still do the process, early voting, it will still the same system. This is only for election day. Okay?
Thank
Thanks,
you,
sir.
Mark.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, under C is Commissioner King, you made a motion to refer the cost share of paving with the city of Clinton to the budget committee. I've handed out a couple of other items on that today as well. The first one is an Excel spreadsheet showing the different businesses in the industrial park and what the city collects as far as taxes and what the county collects. The city collected $688,529 in 2022 taxes, and the county collected $1,771,896. That just breaks down each of the businesses. And the proposed plan of services for Eagle Bend Industrial Park, which is an older agreement. The mayor may be able to speak to this more than I than this one that was real long there.
Yes, so there were some comments made at commission about the partnership that existed between city and county on this particular industrial park. Some of the comments made were actually in reference to I-75 Industrial Park, which was the county paying 75% and the city 25%. This is Eagle Bend Industrial Park, which was also a partnership, but not the same partnership that was referenced at the county commission meeting. So I could not locate anything in the old mayor files. Roger Hauk was able to actually find this older agreement with the city of Clinton, outlining the joint nature of establishing or setting up that park. So that's what that document is. It dates back to the 60s. And I think Mayor Burton is here. You might have the exact, it was 63, Mayor? Something like that. So that's what that document is, if that helps.
So that document actually shows the agreement back then about what services would be provided and so forth and so
Yes.
on. Okay, so even though it wasn't the one
Yes.
brought up at commission, there was still an agreement.
Yes, yes, correct, yes. And, in meeting with Robbie and talking about source of funding, we do have there are two different codes and two different pots of money for industrial funds. One is actually, as there is growth on the parcels, 5% of the taxes collected goes into an industrial fund. That particular fund has $310,000 in it right now. And, if you're looking for source of funding, my own recommendation would be you either wipe that one out or maybe leave 10,000 and take 300,000 from that, because it's truly coming off those industrial parcels. And then if you want to do the full 50%, the 421, then you take the other 100 or 120 from the other industrial land pot. And that pot has, I think, 1.2 million in it.
Yes.
So that would be a suggested source of funding, as it makes the most sense because it's actually tax being collected off of those parcels, those industrial parcels. So,
I'll ask a question if I can, Chairman. Robbie, is there a reason to keep any money in that one account? I'm gonna make a motion to use that funds, I just didn't know if I needed to leave that.
Not really, in my opinion, no.
Okay.
I
And
don't-
Mayor, do you have a,
no.
so you're fine with emptying? So whatever the balance was,
310, 462.78.
and then the
The
rest?
balance, the 50-50 split of the lowest bid is the bid was 822, 398.85 is 411, 199.43. So that leaves an additional, I did it with 300, so I'd have to do the math again, sorry.
So whatever the math is, that's my motion to use that fund to split the cost on that.
Let's let Robbie
Yeah.
work his calculator for a minute.
It's 100,736.65 is what would be additional besides after we take out the one grant, after the one reserve. And that is for that, from the 5% growth from that park, from those industrial parks, so that's why the money is placed there.
So Commissioner Foster, if I understand you correctly, you want to make a motion to pay a total of half of the cost?
Of the bid, yeah.
Okay, so your motion is the 310 come from the one code, and then the additional 100, and how much, Robbie?
100,736.65 would come from the other industrial land
To come
reserve,
from the other industrial land code.
which has
Is that your
1,260,000.
motion?
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Everybody understand the motion?
Yes,
All
Mr.
right. We
Chairman.
have motion by Commissioner Foster, seconded by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion? Commissioner Wandale?
Just, what's that total amount then?
411, 199.43.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Bochamp?
Commissioner Wandale brought up at the commission meeting about an MOU, just to make sure that we're not gonna get stuck in something reoccurring. Do we know, Mayor, if Jay has done that, to where this is just gonna be a one-time thing?
I don't know any status, but this is only a one-time request.
Okay, I just wanna
Yes.
make sure that that's in
Yes.
there. And then I wanted to thank Mayor Burton and Councilman Cleaner coming over and talking to me and giving me a little bit more insight than what we had at County Commission. I kinda understood it a little bit better after talking to them, so I appreciate them taking the time to do that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
So, Section D is the EMS location that was referred back to Budget Committee, and the possibility of the discussion about maybe moving EMS to the general fund. That, I know Nathan's here, but that's what this Section D is about, so.
Yes, thank you, Robbie. Commissioners, if y'all will remember, at a previous county commission meeting, the issue of a new location was brought up, actually been brought up for a while now. And also the possibility, I think Commissioner McCamey wanted us to discuss the possibility of bringing EMS's budget back under the general fund. So they sent it to us as a budget committee to tackle those issues. So here was my thought, and this is just Shane's thought. I asked Director Sweet if he would email you all some information on EMS. I asked him to email you all the audit that was done, was it 2016, Tracy?
I think
2017, somewhere along in there, where we paid to have that audit done, the results of that. His presentation he gave a few months ago, I think some of us attended that at EMS, the history of EMS. The recent study that was done about different locations, I believe it was published during COVID, because I remember watching it online in a Zoom meeting or something. And then a brief overview from Director Sweet or Director Holbrook on the different budgets that EMS has been under, different budget codes they've been under down through the years. That is a lot of information, and I apologize for that, but I wanted you all to have a good history and a good foundation before we move forward on this. Having said that, Director Sweet is here. If you all have already had an opportunity to read over some of that information and already have some questions you'd like to ask, certainly we could get this ball rolling on that. I don't think anyone expected us to have a decision made here today unless you've really read over all that material and you don't have any questions and you are ready to do that. But certainly it was sent to Budget Committee to discuss it, to hash it out, to figure out what would be best to recommend to full commission. So having said that and brought everybody up to speed, do we have any comments at this point? Yes, Commissioner Wandale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, appreciate the summary there. I'd like to just ask the mayor, EMS department falls under the mayor's purview, and I'd like to get her input before I make any type of decision. And I know we're not necessarily today. Mayor, I'd like to have your thoughts on what you think about the possibility of moving it into the general fund, keeping where it's at. What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm not opposed to it. I think one of the things about looking at EMS as a business operation is that having those full costs, so charging EMS the cost of county business, the one arm of for instance, fleet service, performing work on EMS vehicles. Having that transparency is a good thing from a business standpoint. But also, you know, it does make it challenging when you're looking at the operation and you're seeing a lot of operations inside government that aren't paying those things. That's our cost of government of doing business, is providing fleet for, you know, our vehicles. So I think it could be a benefit, but I will say I did talk to Robbie, and I said, you know, we really need to look at what the impact will be on the overall net position of Anderson County. I would assume many years ago, when, you know, before commission really committed and has done an excellent job of updating our equipment, our vehicles, you know, our stretchers, all of those things, it would have probably been a real hit to our net position to take on the business with all of this outdated equipment. And it would put a you know, larger liability on the county. But right now, I think we're probably in a good place if we're going to do it. You know, this upcoming budget year, I think there's time, because I don't think it makes sense to do it mid-year. I know Robbie absolutely would hate me if I made that as a recommendation. So if it's something we do, I would recommend we look at it during the budget process. You know, ask Nathan to submit it at that point. But I think it would be a good idea at this point in time. Unless, you know, we get some greater movement. You know, our issues with reimbursement are the predominant issue, and that is the Medicare, Medicaid, and those are the majority, and we're an aging population. Those numbers are only getting larger, and the federal government still funds us through a transportation model, but the public expects, when you dial 911, it's not all about how quickly you get me to the hospital. They expect us to immediately start providing pain relief, medical treatment, life-saving treatment, and all of those are costs that are not accounted for in those reimbursement models. And so we continue to be evangelists for that at the state level and the federal level. We just had a roundtable for Senator Blackburn where we stress that. You know, this is under federal highway, and we're not, you know, we don't get reimbursed for the cost of readiness. And you all as commissioners want us to be there in a timely manner. So at this point in time, I do think it is the right thing to do. So
I like what you said. I think waiting till budget
yes.
cycle to consider it. Would you want that as a motion, Mr. Chairman or Mayor, and just to?
I think that's appropriate. That would give Robbie and I time, and we can get with auditors and talk about details. And
Okay, I'll make a motion to explore moving the EMS fund balance to the general fund.
yes, the operation. Yes. So yeah.
I'll make that motion and explore it during budget cycle.
Motion made by Commissioner Wandell to explore the possibility of bringing EMS under the general fund by the new budget deadlines.
The next sec-
7 of 20, yes, the 23-24 budget. 24-25 budget. Time flies.
Next July.
Yeah.
He's trying to say.
Yeah. That's what I meant, not what I said.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smallridge. Any further discussion? Commissioner
I do have
Foster.
one question as we go through this process and as we build towards that next year's budget. Is this the committee that's going to run through, I know budget obviously runs through there, but like updates and those things, or is that going to go, is that how we're going to run this? Like, you know, like some of the meetings that you guys are having in planning, if we get updates, hey, this is what we're looking at, is that going to run back through budget? Even though I know the budget part will, that's not what I was, okay. That was good question.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
any location discussion. I'm assuming maybe what we did in the budget season
that-
with the new employees and,
I kinda looked at that as being all one group, but now that affects your district more than anything, Commissioner Wandell. What's your opinion on that?
I think Director Sweet's kind of looking at some areas.
Okay.
And, you know, it's really gonna be up to him and the mayor to, what they decide, but I know they're looking at it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, just to give a little bit more information on that, Commissioner Wandell and Commissioner Mays have been helping out with trying to get us connected with some people in the Claxton community. We've looked at a couple places to kind of be a temporary posting location for our department while we put that truck in Claxton. So we're still looking at those as a temporary option for sure.
So at least y'all have got something down there until something
Yes.
permanent. Good deal.
Thank you.
Next item?
okay, section E. Commissioner Wandell made a motion to refer the Fire Commission's request for ARPA funds to cover specific department needs to the Budget Committee. And this is, the reason, I do have the minutes included. One was for, funding for new AEDs. Nathan gave me a quote on that at, for $275,318.46. That would purchase, 46, 50, 70. It looks like AEDs. And then the second part of that was, request for $50,000 in ARPA funds to cover specific department needs. And, that's what the discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wandell?
Okay, so this item, are we talking about
There's two different-
AEDs and
They're
the funding
both
for?
were,
Okay, so
I do-
last I understood, and I may be incorrect, the AEDs are, I know Nathan was putting together a plan. Go ahead, Nathan, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to
Yes,
get
go
his-
ahead.
Yes, sir, and I had spoke at Fire Commission that we plan to present to Budget Committee. Really, the piece of paper that you guys got is a breakdown of the AED needs throughout the county. It does include EMS, it includes all the first responder departments, the senior center, which currently does not have one, and they have been asking. It does include this facility, the Jolly Building. I talked with Anderson County Sheriff's Office. It would replace those that they currently have at the jail. It would add to them because they currently, like patrol sergeants, they don't have them, so it would add to them. Really, I want to kind of give that breakdown of this is kind of that need on the AED side for the county departments that I listed. This would be the request that if we were interested, or if this commission or committee was interested, county commission was interested, I would say at this moment in time, I would not, I'm not asking to fund the EMS portion. We are applying for a grant for ours, but the other ones may be something that could be considered, whether it's this meeting or at future meetings, something that could be looked at by this committee and by commission that we could continue to discuss. I will tell you, all the AEDs that the departments currently have, including EMS, are grossly out of date. The ones in this facility alone are 2011, 2012 AEDs. They're typically meant to last 8 years. So we do get more life out of them, or we do extend more life out of them. As I said before, Senior Center does not have one at all. And Sheree has been asking multiple times if that's something could be provided. We have been down to the Senior Center to teach them CPR. We've been here to the courthouse, and we've offered CPR to courthouse employees. So that's something we will continue to offer. But some of the fire departments have AEDs that are probably 20 years old. These AEDs are not meant to last that long. So whether there's discussion on this or not, I think for me personally, my recommendation priority would be any of those that don't currently have something like Senior Center, Sheriff's Department, patrol sergeants, and then looking at volunteer departments, then maybe looking at paid departments. And lastly is, depending on how our grant goes, if that's not funded, then that's maybe something we would come back. But EMS is not asking for our portion at this time.
so that's already included in the 275.
Yes, sir, that's included, our EMS portion was included in the 275. So I do have another quote I can get that would remove the EMS side, or I can get a quote that can do it item by item. Really, this was discussion, this was the prompt discussion.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Butch.
And Nathan, thank you for explaining. I think, but you're saying your AEDs are gonna be taken care of already. You're not
Oh, I'm
asking-
very hopeful, it's a grant, so
Yeah.
it's, yeah. And our grant we're applying is non-matching, so.
You could make a
Well-
motion up to 275,000. That would cover EMS in case are not covered by a grant. Possibly, if this is something that the budget committee wanted to approve out of ARP funding.
Yeah, you know, I think Nathan did a great job coming to the fire commission and explaining, brought the individual who had these AEDs and showed them around and things of that nature. So the 275, 318.46 covers it all. We can do up to that amount. All right, I'm gonna make a motion. Would you be prepared to go, Nathan, if we fund this? Or would you rather wait to give us another quote without you in there? I'm prepared to do it the way it is.
If you want to do up to 275, we'll run the grant process, obviously through finance department, and we'll keep them up to speed. If it was to get rejected, then but if it's,
Okay, yeah,
I wouldn't buy ours yet,
okay.
no.
Mary, you good? Okay.
One thing is to share with the commission, full commission, that the purpose of the same one is
Oh.
continuity of.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Good point.
So the big part of this is now this puts the same AED in the hands of all of our first responder departments, where right now we probably have about 5 different brands. That means you have 5 different pieces or types of batteries and pads and all those things. These also, most of these AEDs will use the same pads that our cardiac monitors on the ambulance use. So first responder gets there, puts the pads on, and is providing CPR to the citizen. We get there, we can plug it right into our cardiac monitor, where now we have to take those pads off, put our stuff on. So it does have a more continuity operation base for us as a system countywide.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve up to $275,318.46 for this AED request, Director Sweet.
Motion made by Commissioner Wandell to approve the AED purchases of $275,318.46.
Out of the ARP fund.
Out of the ARP funds. Second by Commissioner Wells. Any discussion? Commissioner Vandergriff.
Question, do these AEDs come with the adult and the child pads?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And this also does include preventative maintenance for most of the AEDs. Some of them we're buying don't require preventative maintenance, like the ones we'll have here in this building, but the ones that the first responders have, they'll get annual preventative maintenance, battery replacement. It comes with the case, so everything for it to start day one.
Chairman.
Commissioner Foster.
So my question is, where did the numbers come from? And I'm going to use Rocky Top as an example because I'm familiar with it. Like they just got one within the last 2 years on a new fire truck. They have a grant that we applied for and have that they were ordering another one. So like, is it one per truck? Because I know they only have 2 trucks unless they added one since I've left, and maybe he can answer that for me. But I just didn't know where those numbers come from. I know we try to have them on every truck, but I didn't know if we take into consideration, you did say some are way outdated. I get that with the one we bought 2 years ago. And I think we bought the one that you guys, we tried to follow what you guys
Correct.
did.
Yeah,
So that's just my question.
I reached out to the fire chiefs
Okay.
of the organization, said, this is what we're looking at. What would you want for your department? What is your need? So I know the chief in Rocky Top said to have it on his apparatus, including his vehicle. So if he's responding in his vehicle, he has the AED already with him, as opposed to if he responds in his chief vehicle, waiting for a pumper to get there, or an ambulance to get there. So there has been some of that maybe it's in their command vehicle, their supervisor vehicle, because oftentimes that may be what responds rather than a whole engine responding to a medical call. It does, as far as I understand, this is not going into personal vehicles.
Right, I didn't think that. I just was wondering where, if there's other grants out there. I know you talked about your grant. I know the City of Rocky Top had a grant to buy one as part of the FEMA grant they received. We just got one on a truck. I hate to see us buy, if stuff's not outdated, making
Right.
sure we're not
Uh,
replacing things. And I'm not just
right.
using, I know Rocky Top, but I'm not saying
Yes.
other departments don't have one that's brand new too. Maybe Clinton got a brand new one on their new truck they got last year, right?
Chief Braden in Rocky Top actually reached out to me yesterday, asked me which one was included because they got the grant. So with their grant, they're wanting to buy the same one that we're proposing to you. So they weren't doubling up with what they've already got on been awarded on their grant. And that came from Chief Braden, I think it was yesterday or Tuesday.
And that would just, sorry.
No, you're good.
Well, just one other thing. So as we're buying these, can we confirm that we're not replacing things that are not outdated, spending money that we don't need to spend, or if there's a grant that they've already paying for it? I'm not saying we're doubling up, but just trying to make sure we take the county money as far as we can.
Sure, not having more than they really need. And if that's, I can make it off that motion and I can verify with those departments, be more than happy to, whatever guidelines this committee and commission would like us to oversee. Obviously, when we have the preventative maintenance, we'll be requiring these departments to come back. The preventative maintenance will all be done at our facility. So that'll be something that annually, they'll have to bring them back so that they can be run through the system process. So we'll continue to be checking on these as the life of them goes.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Wendell.
good discussion. I'd like to see Director Sweet kind of continue the effort all the way through and check on, make sure if there's something already there compatible to what we're going to be getting. But also, the individual that gave the presentation on these AEDs did indicate there could be some potential for some rebates on some of the ones. She didn't say all of them.
Yeah.
And I understand, but
Yeah,
I'd like for you to kind of,
Yes, sir.
if you have time and the mayor allows it, you to kind of continue.
sure.
Because you did a good job going through all this and getting everybody's information, and I like the idea of getting all the same ones at the same time, and, so, yeah.
Yeah, and she did indicate, obviously, she needs the details of our AED, but it's probably like a $250 credit for whichever ones, which would go towards the price coming down.
As Commissioner Wells would say, pennies matter.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, to the second portion of the Fire Commission's request, $50,000 for each volunteer fire department. And I think they included the cities in this motion as well. I do have a couple of comments to make about that. One, at the last Finance Committee meeting in July, we made a motion that the charitable donation, the nonprofit committee, and our policy would be applicable for every fund. And all of the volunteer departments are 501c3s. I know we give them 27.5, but we also put that in the appropriation resolution because we're required to by the state comptroller's office. With additional funding, I'm not sure that should go back possibly to the nonprofit committee. That would be up to the budget committee and commission, but I think that would be fair. I know that we haven't had a meeting since we set the policy, but I think we also are waiting on Jay to give us a ruling, and I would really like to set a meeting in September or October because we have several pending that we need to get. But that's just my thoughts. I'm interested in what you all have to say.
Commissioner Wendell.
Thank you. And I understand where you're coming from, Robbie, but these aren't property tax dollars. These are ARP
Right.
funds that
They
were
are.
given from the federal government. And I do respect your opinion on the nonprofits, but we haven't done nonprofit. We kind of do it, and that's the reason we're trying to get the nonprofit back so we can
Right.
kind of weed through these. But I think the volunteer fire departments, it's really not understood unless you have an unfortunate incident and then you're touched by it, whether it's your family or friends. And, I'm not sure everyone in our county understands that the volunteers are truly volunteers. There's no pay raise. There's no, no benefit other than these men and women jump onto a vehicle, rush to an event, and as you can see, commissioners, in your packages now in the fire commissions, there's a lot of calls that are made. They assist not only the EMS when they can, there's just a lot of things to it. So they haven't really asked for a lot over the years, and they're very appreciative of what they do get. There's several departments that won't even ask because they're afraid, you know, they'll make somebody mad, and that just kind of blows me away. I appreciate that humbleness, but for what they do, it's unbelievable. So this request isn't something that I came up with. I actually missed the meeting, came to the next meeting, and the fire chiefs had all put together these packages, which was very impressive to me on what they'd like to do with it. And with this request today, I don't want us commissioners sitting here thinking, well, we're going to stroke $50,000 to each department and see them on their way. This request would be to set the funds aside, put it in a code to where we can manage it, and I would imagine there's a lot of other pieces we got to still talk about. This would only be setting the funds aside. We would then, I think, with the mayor and you, Robbie, and this body and the full commission, allow those funds to go out when they come in and they have the documentation to buy these things they're asking for. A lot of them are air packs. I don't have them all memorized in front of me. So that's the thought. And, you know, the fire truck resolution went away for those commissioners that may not have been around during that time. That went on for 10 years, and I think it was up to $275,000. I understand we got half of that still in this year's budget, so there's 127 and some change, I guess. If this body wants to use that towards the 550,000 that this request is for, I don't think the fire commission would have any issues. They're just wanting to get those funds and understand what happens to the 50,000 that goes to each fire department. And the mayor touched on this maybe 6 months ago when she started having these fire commission meetings. She had a different term, and I'm butchering it, but when they're able to be more proficient, and it makes our ratings go down, and I may be saying this wrong, but it improves us for our constituents' insurance. So the more that they get done and the more they're prepared, the better off we are as constituents with our insurance, and we can in fact get lower insurance. So
Makes good sense.
yeah. So anyway, I know that's a lot to say, as you say, Mr. Chairman, but I fully support this, and I hope that we could move forward with it. And if anyone has any questions, but I'm gonna make a motion to fund the request for the Fire Commission, because it does include the municipalities, Oak Ridge, Clinton, Oliver Springs, Norris. So I'm gonna make a motion that we allow $50,000 to each of these fire departments and fund it out of ARP funds. And I believe that total is gonna be $550, Robbie, for 11 of them.
That would be 550.
You adding that up, Robbie?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's 550.
550?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Wandell to approve 550,000 out of the ARP funds
Yes, sir.
for a $50,000 allotment for each fire department and volunteer fire department. That also include rescue squad?
It did, yes.
Okay,
Yes, that's 11, including the rescue squad.
okay. And that is seconded by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion? Commissioner Smallridge?
So this would be no strings attached. Each department would determine how they want to use that money. Is that?
Yes, and they have presented estimated budgets, if you will. And Commissioner Smallridge, again, the way I would see it, they would come to maybe this body, if the mayor was okay with that, and you know, say, okay, here's our $50,000 order or $25,000 order. We'd like approval to go ahead and make this acquisition. That's what I'm hopeful we can do.
So we would actually approve the expenditure of each department.
That's what I'd like to see happen. Now, look, I'm not saying it's got to happen that way. I just feel like it would secure the taxpayers more and make everybody more comfortable that we're just not sending out a $50,000 check and hoping something happens. But I'm fully confident in all the fire departments. They're going to use it to the best of their ability. I've not seen any waste in anything I've dealt with, and I know Commissioner Bochek has it.
Robbie, would they have to abide by our purchasing rules?
Good question.
I don't think so, not for us.
When he said that, my wheels started turning. They come in and say, we want to buy this, 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 and this. Do they have to do bid rules?
This is
Do
more
they
of a
have to do-
donation. I mean, even though, it's more of a donation even though they're submitting.
Okay,
But, or we changed our bid the
Uh-huh.
limit to 50, so this is,
okay, so it would all fall under that anyway,
Right.
probably.
yeah.
But I guess that's my clarification, but we're just designating the funds and then they would come back and say, hey, we're buying this. My other question too, if I can ask a two-part question, if we designate the funds, what's the vote to undesignate the funds? Like, budget does it, we go to commission, we designate funds, it's locked in. It's not a simple majority to undesignate funds, it's a 2/3 vote? Can somebody clarify?
Not if you bring it to budget committee first.
Yeah, I think it would just,
No, simple majority to designate, when I'm saying like, we decide,
to rescind it,
rescind it, there we go, that's a.
I don't think there's a super majority
Okay.
requirement.
I don't recall.
I don't think there is.
Majority.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Wells?
Good question for two y'all fire commissions. I see Y12 and ORNL on here. Are they getting part of this 50,000 each as well?
No.
Okay, great. Just wanna clarify
No.
that.
Good question. And Mayor, would it be possible that, say, a volunteer fire department comes into the fire commission and they've got could they come to us and say, okay, here's our stuff we just ordered and we'd like to get, and then maybe from the fire commission, we can bring it to Robbie? I mean,
I'd be okay.
will you be okay with that?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I think you definitely, even though it's fallen under the donation category of ARP, to your point about ensuring for the taxpayers what the use is. I mean, I think from commission standpoint, you want to ensure that it is going to accomplish what you want to accomplish, which is either fire prevention, training, or an actual equipment purchase in order to respond to an incident. And so, I know Chief stepped forward and he's got some good thoughts about
Okay.
that, but, I know, like, for instance, in how you do the annual appropriation, there's kind of a check off on the front end that they've done their audit, that they've filed that with the comptroller's office, that they're in compliance in that regard. Whatever system you would want to set up, in order, just so that there's some boxes checked.
Okay.
That if the auditors ever come in, we've got the appropriate evidence. And even if it doesn't meet the bid threshold, there is still if it is a certain amount, then there's quotes. So you do want some, measures there, but I'll let Chief address that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Chief Bailey?
Commission, thank you. All these items that have been requested for that $50,000, every one of the departments have already put together an itemized list of what they're already requesting. Most of them have already been out to bid to go ahead and see what the quotes would be in that sense. I can speak from a city standpoint. At that point, if we request $50,000, for instance, my request is to fund radios. My $50,000, even though that money would come to the city of Oliver Springs, I would still have to do a sealed bid process to do that. That's just because of my financial rules with the town of Oliver Springs and stuff. So certain things are in place for that. The items have already been set before you guys as far as what we're requesting. Most of these items are items that we've either applied for grants and been denied multiple times, or too small to meet a capital outlay item, or even too small to hit a grant criteria. All of them are dealing with some form of life safety issue based on whichever department it is. Some departments are requesting basic turnout gear. Some of them are replacing air packs that we wear inside of a burning building. One department is requesting a Zoll life pack or Zoll monitors. So each area, each one of you districts are being touched by this one way or another. So it's one of those items that, hey, by the way, you know, we've tried multiple ways, multiple avenues to getting this funding already. We're at our last leg. So this is one of those last leg items for us. All of us have, like I said, all of us have already went through the process. This would be one of those, if you allot the money ahead for this, it goes to commission, gets final approval. Within about a month, you're going to see all those funds pretty much disappear because all of us have already done our homework to get that ball rolling. And, you know, that'll be the process behind that.
Thank you, Chief.
And each one of those departments' requests are in this packet.
I'm sorry, Robbie?
Each of those departments' requests are in this packet
Yep.
that I gave you all tonight. So,
Any further discussion? So the motion on the floor is to approve $550,000, allotting $50,000 for each department. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay.
So section F is the Tourism Welcome Center sale and division of funds. I've included a couple of spreadsheets, and I'll also give you one tonight that, or today before the meeting, an additional spreadsheet. The first page is what Stephanie sent Jay, and she forwarded to me with the land and the building, interest on loan, and then going down different projects or maintenance that she has. She didn't, the sign is included at the bottom, but they kept the sign, so I don't think that's a factor anymore. The asset value that we have in purchasing on that spreadsheet that I give you today, I'm gonna have to find mine. The land was $100,000, the building $158,650. There was an outside renovation for $42,741, an additional room, it's an asset for $26,500. That totaled $327,891. Going down in that first column, excuse me, interest is $26,727 for a total of $354,618. On the other column on the right side, I included the renovation, the outside renovation, the $42,741, just as a discussion point, because basically what that renovation paid for, and I have a list right here, is more or less maintenance of the building. It reattached rocks to the chimney, clean and seal bathroom floors, take out 3 grassy areas, reconstruct a curb in the new location, remove riprap and clean out ditch area, sow grass, remove 3 trees near the ditch, landscape around the Welcome Center, a gazebo, and sign with perennials and shrubs. So I'm not sure, that's a discussion point, if that's really an asset or not. But that second column, if we took that $42,741 out, would be $311,877 for tourism, and the bottom number is what the general fund would share, and that's just how I broke it down. Stephanie's list has a lot more of, I'm assuming all these charges that are more of what you paid out of the maintenance code, right?
Some of them were, I think some,
Hot water heater, $1850.
yeah, I think some of them were out of a capital code, but some of them were out of maintenance, and I included the code number. So anything with a 335 is maintenance and 707 is.
Oh, I see right there, sorry.
I'm sorry, Robbie, could you go over that again one more time so we get a pretty good understanding of what we're looking at here?
So, on the capital assets, whenever we have an asset in the county, we document it in purchasing, we give it an asset tag. When we purchased the land, it was listed as $100,000. I've actually included the copy of that asset in your packet. Then the building, $158,650. The outside renovation was listed as an asset for $42,741, and an additional room, which was a storage room, I think, $26,500. That total is $327,891. Interest on the loans was $26,727, which brings a total of $354,618 for assets and interest. That's basically what audit. I mean, the last time we talked about this commission, Jay said he would pretty much leave it up to, he kind of threw the ball in my court, which the commission then decided they wanted to bring it back to the budget committee and discuss it. So, I mean, this is basically the assets, the value of the assets laid out and interest, and it's up to this committee and commission to decide how they want to split the funds.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Wandell.
go ahead.
No, you go.
Commissioner Foster.
Well, I don't know if it's the same. I think it is. I was looking at the operations agenda, and I think the mayor has some, is this some of the same kind of questions? I mean,
Oh, no, this is just, so this is for when the building sold, it sold for $674,000 and,
$60.
pardon?
$674.
Okay, $674.60. And so this is a completely different, separate, different conversation than what I'm talking about at operations.
Okay.
So this is how do we split this? So originally, the county purchased the land, the building was purchased, and so we're looking at how much of that to go back to tourism.
okay.
Because the appreciation and cost of the land comes to the county. And that's what's in front of you. And so, I don't know, I asked Rod I don't know if you want to share your recommendation, but, you know, the auditors and we agree we should pay interest to the tourism fund.
Okay.
I personally think 325, 345 would be a fair split, opinion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the explanation, Mayor. What, do we need a motion to make a split? I mean, I'm just,
I believe that's
Yes,
what.
I mean, yeah.
okay.
I would-
So I think that is what commission directed.
Yes.
Was, Robbie was prepared, but I think the motion that happened at commission was to send it back to budget and make that decision, how we split that.
Commissioner Wells, what are you thinking over there? You dealt with property before?
Just taking it in.
Are you, I think there's some other questions, but I'll be happy to make a motion to go for the 3 split or something, but we'll wait and hear the questions.
Commissioner Foster.
My question, Mayor, is the 3 splitting the difference on the one numbers and the other numbers? Is that how you came up with your 345,
Well,
325?
311, the second column that, in the spreadsheet I gave you, the 311 takes out the 42,000. I'd be comfortable with 311, 877, all the way up to 354, 618. Anywhere in between. So, you know,
I just didn't know where the 345, 325, was that just going, that's why I was asking.
Well, I mean,
Do that again.
I talked to Robbie, I'm like, what, so he started with that, the 311, but then there are some other costs, and instead of squabbling over, well, some's maintenance, maybe some is not, and, you know, yes, some may come out of capital code, but is it a true asset that is depreciating? So that's why I was suggesting 325, 345.
I mean, if you
You know
divide it in
what?
half, it's 337.30, so
Yeah.
337 what?
30. $30.
Yes.
If
you did a 50-50.
$337,000.
And did we have Jay's opinion in there somewhere that I missed?
He gave it in commission one night, yes.
But he didn't, did he give, he just said what tourism paid, what,
He didn't
he
really
didn't give
get,
a number breakdown.
he,
He had
uh,
looked
he
at the numbers and said,
said that was up to the finance director.
and you just gave us a range.
Well,
also.
no, that night, when that was discussed, someone said, I'd like to see that come back to budget committee
Yeah,
and make that call.
yeah.
So,
Would it be appropriate if we made a motion pending law director's approval? Mayor, do you think we need that? Or you guys, you sound pretty comfortable. You've
the
already
law
talked to
director's
auditors.
already approved that, the general
Okay,
fund.
well, then
I
we
mean,
don't need that
Made
motion.
that,
I'll start off the bidding, and I figure I'll do it wrong, and Wells will step on my toes, and I'll respect that. I'm gonna, if it's okay.
Yes,
Mr.
sir,
Chairman,
go ahead.
I'm gonna make a motion that we split the funding straight down the middle, $337,030 for the sale of the building, and that would be half to the tourism and then half to the general fund. Is that where we should put it? General fund. Okay. That'd be my motion.
I think that'd be fair.
is that a say?
Is that a second?
Yes.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Wandell, for the split between the general fund and tourism fund to be 337,030. Seconded by Commissioner White. Any discussion? Commissioner Wells.
I was prepared.
We're counting, and again, I'm stepping into this whole game very late, so the outside renovations, we're considering that as part of the assets, correct?
That, it was considered an asset, yes, sir.
What, in it, I don't need the full details, but in a nutshell, what outside renovations are we talking about?
Well, I read them off. I mean, they reattached some rocks to the chimney. They cleaned and sealed the bathroom floor. Some of it was inside. Take out 3 grassy areas.
Okay, I remember that now, so I guess I would just, for consideration, that's, in my opinion, that's maintenance to a property, that's not an asset. I mean, just for me, I mean, the grass area removed, the grass is gonna grow back, you can't say, all right, we're done with it there. So I would make a motion to amend, and we go with the, our finance director's original recommendation of allowing $311,877 to tourism, with the county receiving the other. So,
Commissioner Wells moves to amend the motion for the numbers to be 311,877 to tourism, and Robbie's at 350,
4,618.
4,618.
No, that's with the first, it would be 362,183 to general.
I'm sorry,
fund.
what would the county's portion be?
The one right under it, 362,183.
362, 183.
Chairman,
Yes.
just for clarification, that was improvements to the property, so it wasn't just simply taking out grass. It was the center island, it was removing part of that, repaving that parking lot area, so it was improvements to the property, which is also considered an asset, just to clarify that it wasn't just simply removing some grass that was, gonna grow back. So it was improving the parking lot to make it easier for motorhomes, buses to come through the parking lot. So all of those, I think that came out of capital projects, all of those funds did, so just for clarification.
Do we have a second to the amendment? Second by Commissioner Bochamp. Okay, any discussion?
You gonna vote on the amendment first?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Hearing none, voting on the amendment to change the numbers to 311,877 for tourism, 362,183 for the county. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no.
No.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed, so that motion carries. Back now, the motion as amended. The motion is to split the proceeds, 362,183 to the county, 311,877 to tourism. Any further discussion?
What's that now? So that's with the change?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that changes the original motion.
Okay.
All right, that's how they do it on TV.
No, that's I thought that's what I heard you say. I just making sure.
Any discussion? Of course, we're on TV, so I guess people say that about us. too. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion carries. Next item.
All right, the next item is really quick. I just have to inform the governing body that our budget for 2024 was approved by the State Comptroller's Office. You can see the whole letter behind this. And I will put this in, obviously, the budget in the minutes for commission so that we have done what we're supposed to do, so.
You don't need a motion?
No, sir, just information. The last thing on the menu, on the budget. I'm getting hungry. On the budget agenda is the General Sessions Court. There's a quote here from BIS Digital for close to 25,000, 24,229.74 for, they're having difficulty transcribing the hearings from the audio recordings. Apparently, the equipment is extremely old and outdated. I'll let Rex, if there's any more to add to that. But
Yeah, so we'd actually got this quote in preparations of the budget, put it in the capital outlay request. About 2 weeks ago, the state recorder came to us and told us that she cannot transcribe the recordings from general sessions any longer. We've had IT has patched the machine probably for the last 12 months. We've been continually trying to get what we can out of it, and it's pretty much, it's done. So this is the quote. We need this for being a court, the court of records. I think it goes to the criminal court. So we're bringing this to your request. But this is Emily's here to answer any questions. She actually runs the machine, and she would love to speak to y'all.
Come on up, Emily.
Motion to approve.
also,
Where do you want it from?
I can pay this out of the 171 fund of capital I mean, I just like for it to be approved with this body first.
Second.
So each courtroom has one of these machines. Oak Ridge Court was probably replaced several years ago. It's in pretty good shape. Juvenile court's fairly good shape. Criminal courtroom probably will be looking at replacing it in the next couple of years as well. So we just try to replace it as needed, not as a group, so.
Motion made by Commissioner Bochamp to approve, seconded by Commissioner Wendell. Any discussion?
And what code was it coming out of?
The 171 capital project fund.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried. Any new business come before the committee? Commissioner Wendell.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I know, again, I'm not picking on my commissioner, good friend, Commissioner Wells, but this is kind of an emergency request. I'll pass this out. This is the repeater in Claxton Volunteer Fire Department has went out. It usually runs on 100 megawatts. They're trying to run on 50 megawatts. I've heard some of the volunteer fire departments lose touch with each other. I've been hearing it myself at the house because the boss of our home has one of these radios, and it's all, and the dispatchers aren't able to communicate, and it's becoming problematic, and I'm just worried something bad's going to happen. But anyway, they put this together. This is a quote from Metro Communications, and I know I'm out of line. If this body wants to send it to the next meeting or whatever, that's fine, but this is an immediate need for a repeater to be fixed over there in the Claxton community for the volunteer fire department and any others that tap into it when they're in the area. It's $13,475.23. They bought the last one themselves, I guess 20-something years ago. I think it's been 25 years, what I was told. They're just asking for some support to get this going so they could keep doing the service they've been doing.
Can I keep you guessing?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Hey, thank you.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wells to approve, seconded by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion?
What fund are we taking this from?
That's what I was about to ask.
'Cause I would like to recommend
No,
from ARPA funds if possible, but,
Let's do it, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
You
Will-
want that on the motion?
I guess unless anybody has a better recommendation.
I'm good with that. Is that all right with you, Mayor, out of the ARPA funds?
I do have an operational question, and maybe come before our fire chief still in the audience can. I didn't even know that each volunteer department had their own repeater tower.
So, not every department has their own. The county currently maintains Fire North and South as part of their thing. Claxton's on the VHF system versus the rest of the county departments for the most part are on UHF. So each department is pretty much funding something. E911 currently maintains Fire North and South. That was some of the discussion that come up. Claxton has traditionally maintained their own system from way back, way prior to me even being in the fire service. So they're on a completely different system, separate channels, everything.
Do they have to maintain that?
They have to maintain that currently because that is one that E911 cannot or does not maintain. So that's something outside of our purview
Sure.
and stuff, but they don't maintain their own system right now, or they maintain their own system, sorry.
And I'm getting off track, and I apologize. I know we've been here for a while, but is that something maybe the fire commission could look at trying to change and get them all on the same one?
So something that we've been speaking at Fire Commission, one of the things come up from this, Fire North and South has been kind of having some issues here lately as well. This kind of goes into what some of the cities has requested as well. Talking about the funding that you just previously approved, was the city, myself, Norris, and Rocky Top all moving up to the Tacken or Tennessee Valley system, which is a 700, 800 system that's interoperable amongst several of the agencies that are now, including the Sheriff's Department stuff.
Right.
So one of the things that come up here recently in discussion, and it was a discussion and still trying to pull some data and stuff, is that all of the county start funding a lot of the radio equipment. It's going to be kind of funneled through E911 EMA. It's a lot of discussion currently. But what that's going to be is all of your emergency services all on the same radio system that's redundant, that is not maintained by the county. It's maintained by either the Tennessee Valley or the Tacken system. So that's either, depending on which system you're on, user fee on the radios, but that's something that we don't maintain. So if a system goes down, the redundancy in the system is another repeater site or tower picks up. So like right now, Claxton's on one repeater site, one tower. It goes down, they're done. Same as, not same as me in Oliver Springs. Radio system goes down. That's why I've requested that as well. Radio system goes down, you're done. You've got $20,000 that you've got to pay for out of pocket some way, somewhere to fund that. So what the thing going through the Fire Commission right now as a recommendation and support, I can't speak to Director Kidwell on the EMA side, but from his comments to us is they fully support, along with E911, is everybody moving up to the Tacken or Tennessee Valley system. They're pretty much the same. So that system, so the county's not maintaining, not antiquated, but it's antiquated.
Yep.
It's pretty old. So we got an older system that we're all maintaining. We move all up. Tennessee, state of Tennessee now funds the system and the infrastructure. All we have to worry about is the radios. So that's something that is actively being pursued,
Good.
but we don't have it in a form to bring before this body yet.
Okay. All right.
So this would just to get it back up online, we don't know what the cost would be to go ahead and get Claxton up on this new system, because the old radios won't work on
Correct.
that system.
Their current radios wouldn't even work on them. They'd have to get all new radios and everything.
Yeah, we're working on rough numbers right now, but I mean, you're a portable radio. Everybody that's on an emergency needs a portable radio. A portable radio, you're looking $2,000 to $8,000, depending on what brand, bulk buy, things like that. If you're looking at a mobile radio, every apparatus, as you know, has a radio in it, or even an ambulance has a radio in it. So you're looking at $5,000 to $8,000 per one of those. So when you get all the numbers together, that's when you're going to have the bulk come up. Bulk, save a little money, also gets all of us moved up at one time.
Yep.
So there's other things operationally that will do for us as far as emergency services go, but as far as the county and support and money, dollars, things like that, it'll actually almost, in some areas it's going to reduce your cost. In other areas it might increase a little bit, but overall for us, as far as, when I say us, I'm talking about everybody, it's going to be an improvement.
All right. Any further discussion?
Said a lot better than I could.
Sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Any other new business? Any old business? Any business at all? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Go ahead, Paul.
No, I was ready to jump up in there.
She responded